Good evening. This is a regular City Commission meeting for the City of Largo for Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. We're going to start this evening's meeting with an invocation given by Pastor Nicole Ambrosio, and she's the children's pastor at Gulf Coast Church. And then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. If everyone would bow their heads. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity for the call of this council meeting. We thank you for each and every one who is here today. You have blessed us with amazing people who seek the welfare of your people and your community. Father God, we commit this meeting to you as the affairs of this evening are communicated and considered and decided. We ask for your will to be done. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions towards the right path today. We place these moments together in your hands. We desire your glory and blessing in all we do tonight. We give you thanks and praise. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Before we get started, I'm going to mention that Commissioner Hulk is not with us this evening, and Commissioner Fenger is joining us from home. I'd like to ask the Commission for authorization to allow Commissioner Fenger to participate tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. So we're going to move on to ceremonial items. We've got a few ceremonial items this evening. We're going to start with the police department. Hold it down back, please.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to recognize these officers in this forum. From the police department tonight, we have 2 officers and 2 sergeants of the year, an officer and a sergeant for 2019, and the officer and sergeant of the year for 2020. Our 19 recipients are a little delayed because of COVID, but we have a good form to give it. So the first is Officer Chris Keeler. This is the Officer of the Year for 2019. As you can see, Chris is a sergeant at this point. So Officer Keeler's impact on the community over the past year as a school resource officer at the Largo High School, his participation in the Officer Friendly program and as an agency instructor have been far-reaching and profound. In these roles, Officer Keeler has made it a point to have a positive interaction with every student he came in contact with. When a student who came from a dysfunctional or low-income home would come to school wearing the same clothes for consecutive days, Officer Keeler donated his personal clothing to them. When a young 16-year-old female learned she was pregnant and scared to death about what her life was going to become, Officer Keeler went out, bought her a crib, and anonymously gave it to her so she had one less thing to worry about. He also volunteered with several school functions during his weekends and nights off. He's always went above, out of the kindness of his heart, to be a positive role model that these students needed and that they may not have had in their own family and or community. During his time as an SRO, Officer Keeler volunteered for the department's Officer Friendly program and went to preschools located all throughout the city reading books to young children. During the month of December, he donned a Santa Claus costume and visited children as Santa, which he does every year. Once he finished the book, he gave each and every child a toy from his bag, a toy that he had purchased with his own money, to ensure that every child got at least one present from Santa Claus that year. In addition to his role as an SRO, Officer Keeler was also a lead instructor for the Run, Hide, Fight Active Assailant program and traveled to several schools, churches, and numerous private businesses to provide important life-saving training to citizens about sensitive topics. Officer Keeler is a lead instructor for the Recruit In-House Officer Safety Training. He helped develop the lesson plans and much of the curriculum that is used in teaching the department's new officers. In conclusion, due to his extensive and heartfelt commitment to serve not only the Largo Police Department, but also the City of Largo community, he has been selected as the 2019 Officer of the Year. Nice job. Supervisor of the Year for 2019, Sergeant Nick Cusimano. Sergeant Nick Cusimano is at the top of the list as a sergeant. The role of a supervisor is demanding and challenging as your identity and role in the department changes when you're promoted. Sergeant Cusimano has not only taken on the role as a police sergeant, but also chose to take on the role of a PBA representative, as well as the FTO sergeant, and currently the sergeant in charge of the department's problem-oriented policing unit. His dedication and desire to see the team succeed has resonated through every shift and assignment he has commanded. From seasoned officers to rookies, his leadership and work ethic is hard to ignore, and it motivates the troops to give their best efforts on a daily basis. Sergeant Cusimano puts his heart and soul into his role in the department and allows officers to come to work every day knowing that they have the guidance and support from someone who truly cares. His demeanor and approachable attitude, as well as his lead from the front work ethic, are infectious and admirable. Sergeant Cusimano is a remarkable leader and an asset to the department and its future. For all the reasons the above and more, Sergeant Nicholas Cusimano was selected as the 2019 Supervisor of the Year. Officer Joel Quattlebaum is the 2020 Officer of the Year. Year after year, Officer Quattlebaum has excelled at his position as the Senior Services Officer and has consistently gone above and beyond the scope of his duties. Officer Quattlebaum rarely has any downtime. His position is utilized to effectively address the problems and concerns facing the senior community. This includes hosting and attending education meetings, attending advisory boards, partnering with area professionals, and responding to calls for service. Officer Quattlebaum receives daily referrals for vulnerable seniors and is a liaison for the services and resources they require. In the last calendar year, Officer Quattlebaum received and followed up on 333 referrals, responded or generated 571 calls for service, and generated 87 reports. Officer Quattlebaum is also an active instructor, CISM team member, and CERT team member. In addition, Officer Quattlebaum took the lead and lobbied the Pinellas Board of County Commissioners to unanimously vote to implement the Florida Yellow Dot program. This program had been implemented in many Florida counties, but had laid dormant in Pinellas. With Officer Quattlebaum's tenacity and as an advocate for the senior community, he successfully brought this safety measure program to fruition in Pinellas County. Officer Quattlebaum was also instrumental in applying for and being awarded a $10,000 wellness grant, which is geared towards funding the needs for our community's seniors. Some seniors often live on Social Security alone and have to make the financial decision to either buy groceries or pay bills. These funds help provide direct support for seniors encountered in the field who are struggling day to day. In November, Officer Quattlebaum assisted in facilitating the annual Largo Elks fundraiser, which benefited Largo seniors in need. The event generated over $2,700, which will be used to assist Largo seniors in need identified during calls for service. Additionally, he received a $3,500 Beacon grant from the Elks Lodge, which also provides direct financial support for our seniors. In conclusion, Officer Quattlebaum's efforts this year have gone far above his normal scope of duties. His dedication to the seniors in our community make a huge impact not only on the daily lives of our most vulnerable residents, but also on diminishing calls for service relating to seniors for our patrol officers. For these efforts, Officer Quattlebaum has been selected as the 2020 Officer of the Year. Last but not least, Supervisor of the Year 2020, Sergeant Craig Lake. Sergeant Craig Lake has been a patrol sergeant for a short time. However, he has made accomplishments that have been noticed by the entire shift. Several of the officers on midnight shift all agree that Sergeant Lake has a high level of integrity and devotion to his role as a supervisor and to the public safety in general. He is professional and courteous to his subordinates, all while maintaining a high level of command presence. Sergeant Lake has a background in special operations and is current TAC assault member. He regularly teaches his acquired skills to officers via read-off training. When Sergeant Lake came to midnight shift, the K-9 unit was transitioning to a new supervisor, and he volunteered for this assignment. He agreed to make a 3-year minimum commitment to the K-9 unit. As a K-9 supervisor, he has spearheaded several K-9 unit projects. Sergeant Lake has been involved in several improvements to K-9 policies and procedures. He's actively working to make further improvements for the K-9 unit and equipment upgrades, prioritizing necessary training, revamping deployment documentation, etc. He joined the K-9 handlers in a K-9 seminar this year to improve his knowledge of K-9 operation and regularly trains with the K-9 teams. Sergeant Lake is currently working on the creation of a K-9 training compound for the Largo Police Department. He's very motivated to complete the project, as this agency has never had a K-9 training facility. Although Sergeant Lake is assigned to midnight shift, the management of a specialty unit is a role that requires attention outside of his regular work schedule. He regularly makes himself available as necessary to fulfill the needs of the K-9 unit management. He is very diversified in his role as a supervisor, taking on different roles and responsibilities. Sergeant Lake's motivation and positive attitude is not only recognized by the shift, but also serves as an example to other officers. A first for the K-9 unit this year was the recording of a K-9 demonstration to serve as a virtual presentation for the Great American Teach-In, as this event was not possible in person due to COVID-19. Sergeant Lake took the lead on the project and served as a liaison between the K-9 unit and the city's media team to complete this project. The video was a success and was viewed by over 9,000 students. For Sergeant Lake's contributions to the K-9 team, his high level of integrity, professionalism, and devotion, he's been selected as the 2020 Supervisor of the Year.
Mayor, can they come around to the dais to shake our hands?
I'm sure not going to stand at the end with the mayor. I'm going right in the middle.
Yeah.
I gotta find-
Hey, guys, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Yeah, thanks.
Fantastic.
Good job.
Good to see you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you.
Let me,
All right, next we're going to have National Police Week proclamation. Chief?
Whereas on May 4th, 1963, President Kennedy declared May 9th through the 15th National Police Week to honor those who protect our nation and safeguard the rights and freedoms which are guaranteed by the Constitution, and whereas during Police Week we express our gratitude for the courage of these individuals across the nation and in the city of Largo and support them in the fulfillment of their solemn oath to protect and serve, and whereas the City of Largo and the Largo Police Department are committed to continuously working to better serve our community through innovative and proactive initiatives, including social service partnerships, community engagement efforts, and connecting residents to vital resources, and whereas we also recognize Peace Officers Memorial Day and those who have lost their lives or suffered permanent injury defending their communities, now therefore I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week in the City of Largo in conjunction with the nonprofit FBI Tampa Citizens Academy Alumni Association's first Paint the Town Blue campaign and in recognition of national efforts including Peace Officers Memorial Day on May 15th.
I just want to start by thanking my sworn and civilian staff. You got just a small picture today of the outstanding employees that are part of the Largo Police Department, and I'm very appreciative and blessed to have them all part of the Largo team. And second, I'd like to thank the Commission and City Administration. Without your support, we wouldn't have the resources we have today to provide the superior service that we do to our community and instill that trust and pride within the community from the police department. So thank you all very much, and thank you for the time tonight.
And we do have a couple proclamations today. May always seems to be a busy proclamation month, but they're all very important. So we're going to move on to Older Americans Month proclamation.
Whereas the City of Largo is a community that includes a large number of citizens aged 55 and older, and whereas older adults in the Largo community are among our treasured resources, united by historical experiences, strengthened by diversity, and interpreting events through varied perspectives and backgrounds to bring wisdom and insight to our community, and whereas increasing numbers of adults are reaching retirement age and remaining strong and active for longer than ever before, and whereas older adults in Largo deserve recognition for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to the culture, economy, and character of our community and our nation, and whereas our community can provide that recognition and respect by improving the quality of life for older Americans, by increasing their opportunities to remain active and engaged in community life, providing individualized services and support systems to maintain the dignity, independence, and self-determination of older Americans as they age, and combating negative attitudes and stereotypes of older citizens by honoring their past, present, and future contributions. Now, therefore, I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 2021 Older Americans Month and urge every citizen to take this month to honor our older adults and the professionals, family members, and volunteers who care for them. Our recognition and involvement of older Americans can enrich our entire community's quality of life.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be able to introduce this item. You know, Largo, about 45% of Largo's population is over the age of 55. I'm one of those. And nearly 15% are over the age of 75. So clearly, we have a community with many older Americans in it. The city provides some great services that are specifically designed for those seniors in our community, starting with an array of wonderful programs at the Largo Community Center, to silver sneaker classes at Highland and Southwest, to our senior resource officer, who was just honored here tonight, and the police department, to the bookmobile that visits senior communities throughout Largo, and of course the Largo Library itself. And I probably missed a few, but those are the ones that I think people use quite frequently. It is so clearly seniors are special in Largo. And tonight it's my pleasure to introduce Anne Marie Winter, who is the Executive Director of the Area Agency on Aging of Pasco and Pinellas County, and she's going to make a few comments. Anne Marie?
Thank you so much, Mayor Brown, City Commissioners. I'd like to just thank you so much for the wonderful partnership we actually have with the City of Largo. I'm here tonight with one of my board members, Judge George Jaraka, the chair of our advisory council, Miriam Benitez-Nixon, and long-standing on our advisory council was Commissioner Samantha Fenger and more recently Commissioner Eric Gerard. Without that support, we really couldn't do what we do. With federal and state dollars, last year we served 44,000 people, investing $31 million in Pinellas and Pasco counties, providing 665,000 meals to homebound seniors. We're going to be starting a homebound vaccination program as well. I'd like to thank you for taking the opportunity to recognize May as Older Americans Month. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we will have Water Reuse Week proclamation.
Whereas safe, clean, and sustainable water resources are essential to Florida's environment, economy, citizens, and visitors, and whereas although Florida's water supplies are finite, the state's population and need for water resources continue to increase, and whereas water reuse provides a means for conserving and augmenting Florida's precious water resources and is key to the state's sustainable water future, and whereas Florida has established the encouragement and promotion of water reuse as state objectives in Chapters 373 and 403 Florida statutes, and whereas Florida has risen to the national leader in water reuse, reusing 820 million gallons of reclaimed water per day to conserve freshwater supplies and replenish our rivers, streams, lakes, and aquifers, and whereas Florida's permitted reuse capacity is more than 1.7 billion gallons per day, approximately 67% of Florida's total permitted capacity for all domestic wastewater treatment facilities, and whereas Water Reuse Florida, the state section of the Water Reuse Association, has proclaimed the week of May 16 through the 22nd, 2021 as Florida Water Reuse Week, and whereas the City of Largo has joined with Water Reuse Florida, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the Southwest Florida Water Management District in encouraging and promoting water reuse and conservation, and whereas the City of Largo has implemented a water reuse program and encourages efficient and effective use of reclaimed water, now therefore be it resolved by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, the City of Largo hereby supports Water Reuse Florida and proclaims May 16th through the 22nd, 2021 as Florida Water Reuse Week in the state of Florida. The City of Largo, Florida is calling upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious water resources by practicing efficient and effective use of reclaimed water.
Good evening, and thank you, City Commission, Mayor, Administration, for recognizing officially this Water Reuse Week. As you know, reclaimed water is used for irrigation in the City of Largo primarily, and this annual recognition event is being sponsored, as she said, by the Southwest Florida Water Management District, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the Water Reuse Florida, the organization, and it highlights their ongoing efforts to encourage the reuse of reclaimed water. So as it's been said, water demand is growing in the state of Florida, and as people come here to retire or to move here because the weather's finer, that demand is going to continue to grow. So this very important resource, reclaimed water, in 2019 displaced about 302 million gallons per day of potable or drinking water, and so it's a critical piece of our water infrastructure. And about 5.5 million of that was consumed in the City of Largo, 5.5 million gallons a day. This proclamation supporting Water Reuse Week recognizes that we can help solve the local supply challenges as more water supply demand becomes necessary. And it encourages, as she mentioned, citizens to show support by effectively and efficiently using reclaimed water resources. During this week, during the Florida Water Reuse Week, there will be a display at the Central Park Library informing residents and visitors about our water reuse, our reclaimed water resources and Water Reuse Week. We will also be showcasing this event on the city website. And we thank you tonight for your efforts and time. Thank you.
Thank you. We will have a proclamation recognizing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Whereas during Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, the City of Largo recognizes the many contributions of Americans of Asian and Pacific Islander descent, representing more than 20 million Americans across the United States, and whereas Asian Americans comprise a growing population of 2.7% in the City of Largo, and that which represents a diversity of cultures and heritage, and whereas Asian Americans have contributed greatly to expand opportunities for the community as business owners, educators, scientists, government workers, artists, trades workers, and other community leaders, and whereas Asian Americans have enriched the United States as a nation through their personal and professional contributions, bravery in our armed forces, promotion of economic development, and contributing a diversity of cultural elements such as art, language, and cuisine that have expanded the American experience, and whereas Asian Americans have worked to overcome many challenges over generations, often in the face of discrimination and prejudice, and continue to strengthen our communities through perseverance and dedication, now therefore I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Largo in conjunction with the celebration of National Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and with recognition for Largo's sister city, Kami City, Japan, celebrating over 50 years of cultural exchange and friendship.
Good evening. I am excited that the City of Largo is joining in the celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month this May. Throughout the month of May, the City of Largo has a social media campaign recognizing and celebrating the Asian American Pacific Islander community and encouraging public education on the experiences of this diverse population. For anyone interested in learning more, there are wonderful resources online as well. Community members can check out on-demand resources this month at asianpacificheritage.gov and pbs.org. We encourage the community to look at books and resources that are written or led by Asian American Pacific Islander leaders so that we are learning from the voices of those that can best tell their own stories. Largo Public Library will be featuring some of these titles this month. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll move on to citizens' comment. Do we have any cards this evening?
I have 3 cards tonight. First is Mark Clutho.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Been under the weather for a while. It's nice to see the chambers here spruced up a little bit. Commissioner Holmes gone. Isn't that wonderful? It's going to be just another blight, another debacle. If you go forward with the plans for that new city hall. Doggone shame. Here are headlines from last week. Humans are the main cause of climate change. And goodbye to glaciers. Study shows gravity of melting ice. Here's another one. Only big steps will save Earth. And huge changes needed to keep nature, Earth okay, report says. And then here's this article giving aging buildings a green makeover. Developers are devising ways to retrofit New York's oldest structures to reduce their carbon footprints. Casa Passiva is taking these buildings and retrofitting them so that they're cutting the utility bills by 80%. Now, you're talking about a new structure, a new building. But what I see in the rendering is a monument to ignorance that doesn't even come close to what they'll be doing with the retrofits of these old buildings. This is just a doggone shame. I mean, complete ignorance. Ignoring science that is right sitting on the shelf. You've done it before with all these other stupid buildings you've made, the library and the community center and the rec center. I don't know, there's something wrong here. It's really bad. Really bad.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Rob Williams.
Hello, y'all. come bearing gifts. Can I give you,
Gotta give them to the clerk over there.
over to you? Okay. Okay. So I'm back. I was here 2 weeks ago. Rob Williams, president of the board of Florida Celtic Soccer Club. And what I'm back to do is to ask you guys again to consider Florida Celtic for the Belcher Road Soccer Complex. We're in the middle of tryouts right now. There's two things that I wanted to point out for Florida Celtic that I think are as important. Per the commissioners meeting 2 weeks ago, you all brought up some things I thought that was interesting, and we listened. And one of the first thing would be talking about our recreational league. We've got 1,000 kids in our recreational program this year. And the mayor and I think Commissioner Robinson brought up the Largo Wolves that were used to be at the fields there. And one of the things we do is we have a recreational program that's up in Palm Harbor. It's in Seminole, Largo, it's in Bel Air, and we'd like to have it in Largo here too. And one of the neat things we'd like to do is bring back some of the names of the old programs that were there. So we're Largo, we'd like to bring back the Largo Wolves, and that's what we'd like to call the recreational program over there when we do that. And the nice thing about it is having a recreational program, Palm Harbor, Seminole, Largo, and Bel Air, it's all local. And each of these towns would have their own logos and their own names to keep it sort of more of a community feel. What I've given you all is a proposal that we gave to the city of Largo 2 months ago. And I think it goes through and it gives a good explanation. You all can look at it at your leisure to see why we're the best fit for Largo. The second thing I wanted to bring up was the community outreach you all brought up 2 weeks ago. We acted upon that, and we reached out. I reached out to an attorney who works with literacy programs in Ridgecrest and Rainbow Village. And we are going to team up with the YMCA of Ridgecrest and offer free soccer clinics to the low-income and diverse population in those areas, and have that as a focus of our outreach going forward. So I think it's important, to show that our partnership is really what we would like with the city of Largo. We would like a partnership. We would like you guys to understand that we're listening to what you're saying and that we're taking steps in order to move forward and be a part of that. The last point I'd like to make is that currently, as we speak right now, the current tenants over there at Largo United are holding tryouts at their fields right now, with the idea giving to the parents that they'll be forming teams there for next year. Parents don't know this. They're marketing it to them and saying, yes, we're going to have teams here next year, without these parents even knowing that a lease doesn't run through May 31st. And so I think that that's going to be a problem for the families that decide to go with that program, because they're not being given the full truth. So I just would ask that you all consider, once again, Florida Celtic Soccer Club for the Belcher Road Soccer Complex, and thank you all very much. Have a good evening. Happy birthday, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next speaker is David Lloyd.
Mayor, Commission, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm also speaking tonight on the Belcher Complex. I'm going to keep it peaceful because I am a little fired up. I wore my red shirt tonight. The last time I broke this out was when we saved a Jolly Charlie from a big behemoth trying to take it away at PSTA. That day we filled the parking lot, and we could fill it again today. I guess the thing that I like to say about what's going on is that you try to be fair, and you have to try and have fair dealings, and you have rules. What's going on right now, what's got me really fired up is actually what's going on with the tryout situation and what's being told to parents and that. Ethics come down to it. So I was going to have a little bit of fun, because if we look at the game of soccer, yellow and red cards are used as a means to discipline players for misconduct during the game. A yellow card is used to caution players, while a red card results in the player's dismissal from the field of play. I'm going to show you the first yellow card. This is a yellow card that Largo United received 4 years ago, okay? And on that time, that's when they came in doing exactly what they're trying to do now with your fields, with the citizens' fields, with Largo's fields, okay? They brought in TBU, they sold the dream, come play at these fields. Where's that relationship today? It's gone. It's exploded. It's blown up. It blew up clubs. It blew up families. It blew up friendships, and it's gone. And today, right now, we're supposed to be at soccer tries as well, but this was important, right? I was warned not to stand up about this because the ties in the community of Largo United go deep. But when I'm warned to sit down or stand down, if it's warranted, I will. But it involves proper justice, and it's for the citizens and the children, I'm going to stand up double. So that's why I say the next thing is that this is the red card that should be issued to Largo United, a true red card to leave the field and exit. Because what's happening is that this is not owned by Largo United. These are fields of Largo fields, the citizens, the children. And what's happening on those fields is they are being underutilized. Okay? We could fill the parking lot with individuals that have been through that situation. And I don't want to take it and bring it personal, but when you bring the facts, and you all have had great facts, and I commend the city, I commend staff, who I think so much has come out, and even with the soccer community of Florida, to see that these are things that people don't understand, these facts. But the facts are there, the evidence is clear, and absolutely they are not good stewards of that field. And now again, I would say, hold up the red card to Largo United, hold up the red card twice to Florida Premier for coming into Largo, holding those, you're holding tryouts and you're not giving people the real deal. But at the end of the day, what are you doing for the citizens and what are you doing for the community of Largo? And it's not the best bet. They're doing exactly what they did 4 years ago. It didn't work out, and they're trying to push through again. So again, I recommend Commission give them the red card. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards I have.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to approval of tonight's agenda.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of April 20th, 2021.
Move approval. Second.
Any corrections or changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Could I hear the consent docket, please?
I'm sorry, it passed 6-1?
6-0.
Oh, okay.
Thank you,
I
sorry.
think you said 6-1.
It was the mask.
Item 8, approval to enter into a joint use of facilities agreement with the Pinellas County School Board. Item 9, authorization to purchase mowing services for ditches, creeks, and drainage conveyances from Crawford Maintenance Services, a sole source supplier for Kaiser Mowing Service, in the estimated amount of $100,000.
You've heard the consent docket. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent docket without commission discussion and including staff background provided in the commission packets.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item number 10.
This is my item. It's requesting approval of an engagement agreement with John Shaw Consulting to act as our consulting expert in litigation involving the City of Largo and Greeley and Hanson. Greeley and Hanson designed, or their team designed, some improvements to the city's wastewater reclamation facility. As the City Commission is well aware, some of the design involving the disinfection system improvements did not go as planned, and the city has had to move on from those design improvements, have the disinfection system redesigned, and bring in another contractor to make the correct improvements to the disinfection system. As a result, we filed litigation against Greeley and Hanson, and in order to pursue that litigation, we need to bring on a litigation consulting expert. Staff, as well as myself, has spoken at length with Mr. Shaw. He's well qualified. He has experience in testifying and working as a consulting litigation expert in the state of Florida, holds the appropriate licenses, and we would recommend that the commission authorize us to enter into the engagement agreement with John Shaw Consulting. The agreement requires a $5,000 retainer and provides for compensation for Mr. Shaw's work at the rate of $375 per hour.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to approve an engagement agreement with John Shaw Consulting LLC for consulting expert services in the matter of the City of Largo versus Greeley and Hanson.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next is item number 11.
Good evening, Honorable City Commissioners. The purpose of proposed ordinance number 2021-40 is to facilitate a process afforded by Forward Pinellas, its countywide rules, that is beneficial to the redevelopment of properties within the multimodal corridors and activity centers. The density averaging provision allows jurisdictions to average density and intensity within multimodal corridors and activity centers, and to split density and intensity if needed to create flexibility for redevelopment and for improved site plan design. The benefits of this provision is that it allows cities to establish this procedure for transfer of density and intensity from one land parcel to another, and this can be supplemental to the process for a new development permit and, if applicable, any associated development agreement. Proposed ordinance number 2021-40 was presented to the Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board, also known as the CRAB, on February 22nd, 2021, and the CRAB was in favor of the proposed ordinance. The Planning Board was presented the proposed ordinance on April 1st, 2021, and it passed by motion 6-0. Under the city's current comprehensive development code, a redevelopment opportunity site that may have various contiguous lots with different land uses are not able to average their density, even if they are within the same activity center. Under the current code, density and intensity cannot be aggregated and shifted across parcels, even if height allowances and floor area ratio supports that aggregation and for better design. The proposed amendment will allow a definition for density and intensity averaging, and will set forth density and intensity averaging in activity centers or multimodal corridors, provided that the maximum density or intensity standard for the applicable subcategory is not exceeded on an average area-wide basis. Density and intensity averaging within multimodal corridors and activity centers will also include any development rights available to, but previously unused by, the existing developed property that is being added to or redeveloped using the density and intensity averaging provision. And then to facilitate this process, the proposed ordinance establishes the standard for memorializing and recording the development rights averaged between two contiguous parcels and the supporting documentation that will be required for the application. The application will require a signed written agreement between the two parcel owners, a certificate of title for each parcel prepared by an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Florida, 2 copies of signed and sealed surveys including legal descriptions for the proposed parcels, and a statement of the type and number of development rights in terms of density or intensity being averaged. And finally, any additional information required by the city's development controls officer as necessary to determine the number of development rights that qualify for the averaging. And then in turn, upon satisfaction of the city's requirements, the development controls officer will issue a density intensity averaging certificate that will identify all of the information provided in the application, and this will be recorded against the property. And that certificate will also include a date of issuance, a case or certificate number, and the signature of the development controls officer. Ordinance number 2021-40 has been reviewed by the city attorney, and if approved on first reading, it will be presented for a second and final reading at the June 1st City Commission meeting.
Ordinance number 2021-40, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Comprehensive Development Code by amending Chapter 8, Section 8.2.5, Density and Intensity for Mixed-Use Projects and Multimodal Activity Centers by providing for density and intensity averaging between contiguous parcels, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have no cards.
Any questions?
I move to, go ahead.
I move to approve ordinance number 2021-40 on first reading and schedule a second reading and public hearing on June 1st, 2021.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Smith.
Wait a minute, trying to think how to question. You lock them in, they both agree to it. What prevents them from, is the agreement lock them in together for the entire time, or once it's developed, it's a done deal? What prevents them from pulling out? I'm just trying to think, a curiosity question, but I'm not addressing right.
So once the density or intensity has been transferred, that property owner retains the rights to that since they accepted, as part of the agreement. So they can either move forward with developing the property to that extent, or they can wait and not develop it.
Okay. And let's say they don't, you're saying two properties, and they can't go to, let's say they do that, and in 10 years, there's another piece of property, and those two come in. They can't lock it all into an area, correct? To get more density?
So are you asking whether a property owner can aggregate density from one parcel and then from another?
Correct.
The answer to that would be yes, they can do that.
Okay. All right.
So could you explain to me my understanding of a density transfer? So if somebody's not developing a piece of property and they sell their density or transfer their density to another property, I know that's forever. And so even if that area, the density becomes an activity center and the city decides that in that activity center, we might desire a higher density for some of the core development there. Those are locked if it's density transfer. That doesn't occur in density averaging, is that correct?
That is correct. In density averaging, if there is an amendment, as long as it follows the countywide rules for that special area plan or that redevelopment district, for whatever that activity center multimodal corridor is, additional density can be gained if it's later on amended through that process.
Yeah, but I think that's the most important thing of this density averaging, in my opinion, because it doesn't tie us in. If you look at the medical arts district, going back 15 years, the density that's allowed now was not allowed then in the medical arts district. So if somebody had transferred their density, they'd be stuck at what's there now.
That is correct.
Okay. Even if they demolished both structures, am I correct? Like even if both lots were, from what I understand, even if both lots, they couldn't start over.
And anytime there's the transfer of development rights associated with that, that is a final. There is no additional rights from that, for that parcel. If whether it's developed or, once they send it, it's gone.
Yeah, that's why this is so much better. And has there been, and I'm not sure who makes it final, whether it's a state or a county rule, but has there been any discussion at looking at making that not final moving forward? Does anybody know?
Mayor, that is a county rule.
Okay.
And I personally have not heard of any discussion to change that rule.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? I do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is ordinance number 2021-52.
Good evening. See, the Florida legislature authorized adoption of single fire prevention code throughout the state of Florida in 1998. The Florida Fire Prevention Code became effective in 2002, adopting the National Fire Protection Association's Fire Code NFPA 1 and Life Safety Code NFPA 101. Per Florida Statute 633.202, requires that each municipality with safety responsibilities enforce the Florida Fire Protection Code within their respective jurisdictions. Current city ordinance uses the 6th edition of the FFPC. Adoption of ordinance number 2021-52 will adopt the most recent fire safety code, which is the 7th edition of the Florida Fire Protection Code.
Ordinance number 2021-52, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending Section 13-19, Article 2, Chapter 13 of the City of Largo Code of Ordinances by adopting the 7th edition of the Florida Fire Prevention Code as the applicable fire safety code in the City of Largo, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
I have no public comment.
Any questions?
I move to approve ordinance number 2021-52 on first reading and schedule a second reading and public hearing on June 1st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now recess the City Commission meeting and convene the CRA meeting for one item.
Good evening, and happy birthday, Vice Mayor Robinson. At the January 5th, 2021 Community Redevelopment Agency meeting, the CRA board was provided an update by staff that the developer of the 500 block of West Bay Drive had engaged a new investment partner under a letter of an intent to negotiate for the redevelopment of the 500 and 600 blocks of West Bay Drive under a joint venture. During that period of due diligence under the letter of intent, the term for the redevelopment of the property would expire on February 1st, 2021, under the First Amendment to the repurchase agreement that was approved by the CRA in November 2017. In order to facilitate the negotiation for a new entity and a joint venture to redevelop the property under a new site plan, the CRA board approved an extension to May 11th, 2021. The city attorney's office and staff continue to work with the developer, the new investment partner, and their counsel through their due diligence to ensure that the density needed to complete the project is in order to move the project forward. We have been working on the due diligence process to ensure that density is available, and the developer and staff are evaluating opportunities for density and intensity averaging from various properties in the project area. With the new tool proposed under the density and intensity averaging process under the ordinance number 2021-40, staff and the city attorney's office has been working with Forward Pinellas to ensure that this new tool is being applied correctly. And ensuring the correct application of this process is, again, part of the due diligence, and staff recommends that this process should not be rushed. Additionally, in the draft Third Amendment to the agreement for option and right to repurchase the 500 block, the city has set forth the terms and milestones for the development so that the two investment parties can continue forward with their project. And if the density and milestone terms have been finalized for the Third Amendment to the repurchase agreement, it is staff's intent to present the agreement to the CRA board at the June 1st meeting or provide an update on the process.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
I have no public comment.
Any questions from the commission, from the agency? I'll entertain a motion.
I don't know if we need a motion.
No, we don't need
That's
It's
just-
informational.
All right, do you need any direction from us?
Good luck.
Yeah,
Yes. We hope to see you soon.
please stay at it, yeah. Thanks for coming.
All right. I will, just to make sure the commission's aware, so the repurchase agreement allows you to repurchase the property starting May 11th. And we will not be back, obviously, before May 11th with an amendment to that agreement to extend it any further, or with a finalized deal with the new proposed developer. That doesn't mean you have to exercise your right, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that.
The plan is to not repurchase, and
The hope is not to
the hope
repurchase.
is- yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Community Redevelopment Agency meeting is adjourned and will reconvene as a city commission. Mr. Zimmett, do you have anything further?
I have nothing further tonight. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Robinson, we let you go first because it's your birthday.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. So just a couple of quick things. I had a conversation with Henry this morning, and I was wanting to know if Alan, if your firm are you guys doing like a recap on some of the preemptions that were put on local municipalities from the legislature this year?
So every year usually we do it by memo.
Okay.
But we don't send it out until the governor has signed whatever he's going to sign, because if he happens to veto something, then
Sure.
we'd have to, we just have to update it. So most bills, if he signs them, will become effective July 1st.
Right.
Some may be October 1st, some could be January 1st of 2022. But we will be sending out a memo with the list of all the bills that were passed and the governor signs that are preempting home rule.
Thank you. So once that is done, would you be comfortable, or somebody from your organization be comfortable having, maybe a conversation with the commission to kind of just discuss what that looks like for this city moving forward? And some of those can be rather impactful. Some of them probably sound a lot more worse than they're going to be.
And that's probably exactly where they fall. There are some that I've already been asked to look at by the Florida League to give my input, and some of them sounded a lot worse than they probably are and would probably not have any effect on us. But on the other hand, the governor signed a bill yesterday.
Yes.
That if we had gone back a little over a year ago, when we were looking at first declaring an emergency with regard to the pandemic, could well have had an effect on the authority of the commission, and then once we declared an emergency. So we can definitely do that.
Yeah, that'd be, if you could just, once that memo goes out, if we could just have just a conversation, just so we have an understanding of any changes that we're going to have to make, and kind of have an idea of what direction we need to start working on for next session.
Maybe the best thing to do would be put it on as a staff report.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That's all. I don't need that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was see if maybe we can get some agreement from the commission of I would like to have some sort of maybe roundtable with our legislative delegation, not obviously the entire county legislative delegation, but our senator and our 2 representatives. I think everybody up here who has a good idea of the preemptions that were pushed through this year. I think this year was probably one of the worst years I remember, as far as the level of preemptions that came through. And to be honest with you, I know it's funny that Cheryl's sitting in here now. We as a group have worked for over the last 3 or 4 years very hard to build our relationships with our legislators. And I think we've done a great job of improving that. I would say that this year, my level of frustration has grown. There was quite a bit. Our 2 House of Representatives, to be honest with you, in my opinion, could care less about every city that they represent. So I would like to have them come to the city of Largo and sit at a table so we can have a discussion with them, so they can and hold them accountable for the bills that they are pushing against not only us, but the residents of the cities that they represent. And I hate to break down those relationships, but at the same time, those folks work for us just as much as we work for the people that have elected us. So I'm not, I don't want to, I have no, I don't want to, it's not a pitchforks and daggers type thing, but I think that they should absolutely be held accountable for not, in my opinion, representing the people that live in the cities that they represent. So, if there's any agreement, maybe we could try to start working on scheduling some sort of a roundtable with some of those legislators.
I'd support that. I would support that.
Yeah, I think you know, regardless, is next year an election year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's there after next year, we need to have some conversations about what our role here. Like, what is our role if the state legislature keeps eroding home rule and local self-governance? If we can't be reactive to our community, and I'd like to remind the state legislature that we work year-round. Like, I'm not saying they don't work year-round, but we act quickly as a response to our community. And the state legislature doesn't necessarily do that. So I think that it's important to have the ability to act and react to the needs of our community. And nobody does that like municipal governments do. And the consistent move to erode that local self-governance is a problem. And I think that we should have a frank conversation with the people that are up there and the people that will be up there or whatever, and get some feedback. And with a goal of improving their perspective of what we're doing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, you know, and Cheryl was a huge part of that over the last couple of years of building those relationships. But I cannot remember a time over the last, you know, 4, 5, 6 years, 8 years that I've been elected that you know, any of our legislators have reached out to the city of Largo to say, hey, here's a bill that's going to preempt the city of Largo. From something that you do, how is that going to affect you? What can we do to you know, maybe work it out to make it a little bit better? Here's maybe what kind of language can we use to work it out? And again, you know, I'm tired of what it feels like going to the state legislature, you know, and essentially, you know, asking us to bow down and kiss the ring because they're in Tallahassee, and you know, to echo the mayor's statements, you know, we are absolutely the most responsive to the residents of these communities. So, you know, again, I think that the discussion needs to be had, and there are some, I think, you know, our senator that represents Largo over the last couple of years has really done a fantastic job for the most part, you know, trying to keep some of those preemptions from coming through. But the two representatives, I would not say the same for at all. And I, you know, I've got a good relationship with one of them, but, you know, outside of that, I mean, in the working relationship, you know, there needs to be, the conversation has to be had about what's going on up there. And, you know, we cannot continue to erode our powers here at the city of Largo. So that's all I had for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll work on inviting them after that warm invitation.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be excited to come now.
Commissioner Holt. Commissioner Holt's not here. Commissioner Carroll.
Yeah, just in response to some of the things that the Vice Mayor said, first, if we're going to have Mr. Zimmett do a presentation on preemptions at some point in the future, I think perhaps we might put that invitation out to the members of the Suncoast League so they could benefit. You know, we've tried to be leaders in that league, and if we're going to have subject matter experts.
Too. Like the people that are passing this stuff, I'd like them to hear how it's going to affect them.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And also to that end, Mr. Schubert and I and the mayor and I have thought about the new City Hall facility and whether or not we should have some sort of a part of that facility that identifies who our current representatives are at the county and state level so that the citizens are more familiar with some of the actions that might be adverse to the local government. But I would say it's going to be tough. If you send out an invitation that says, would you mind coming down for an ambush, they're probably not going to show up. So I think there may need to be some preliminary work done and to ensure then that it's not going to be a bloodbath discussion. I couldn't agree with you more, Vice Mayor, on And I think a big factor there is the fact that the COVID situation in Tallahassee with our inability pretty much to make trips up there or have in-person meetings allowed us to lose some ground in those relationships. And it's going to be hard work to get them back. And it's going to be harder work to get it back if we invite them down here and then run over them with a truck. So I agree with you. 100%. That
you can be the good cop, then I'll do the other thing.
Yeah, I've done that side before too, yeah. But other than that, I fully support what you're saying. I would just take the opportunity to broaden our scope a little bit with the information that Mr. Zimmet's firm would put out. I think it would be beneficial for everybody, especially the smaller communities, to have a good understanding of what they're not allowed to do anymore. And then, other than saying happy birthday to you and thanking the commission for the proclamations that I hold dear, National Police Week and now Older Americans. Thank you very much. Nothing else.
You're not one of the 15% yet.
I got several things here we could talk about.
Mr. Smith.
Kind of piggyback on Tallahassee a little bit. Forward Pinellas at our legislative committee meeting kind of decided a little bit to be more proactive with looking at bills that did not make it through on transportation. Because what we've kind of been seeing over and over, they reintroduce these bills. Maybe it's something we can also look at as a city of which ones would be detrimental to Largo or our area in Pinellas County and be more proactive ahead of the session so we know. And most likely these bills will come forward again and we can know and have that steam and that conversation and knowledge ahead of time. So I thought that was a good idea that came out of that meeting and maybe we can do as a city also. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Finger.
Thank you. I want to just say congratulations to the officers and the Supervisor of the Year awards that were presented this evening for 2019 and for 2020. It's always great to hear their stories and know that they're doing amazing work in our community. So again, congratulations to them, and look forward to hearing the next time, hearing 2021's awards. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gerard.
Thank you. Fine words, Mr. Vice Mayor, and by the way, happy birthday. I agree wholeheartedly with you. I'd just like to make clear that the preemptions, rather than preempting our power, they preempt our ability to take care and to care for and protect the citizens of the city, and some of them are going to be harsh. They're going to really, if they're interpreted the way that I've heard that they're being interpreted, they're going to seriously erode our ability to keep our citizens safe and to keep their property safe too. So I hope that we can have our legislators come in and sit down with us. And by the way, even if they're coming down for us to yell at them or to just, seriously disagree or respectfully disagree in the strongest possible terms, that's what we go through, and they need to listen. So I hope that they will accept an invitation, and I hope that they can explain the rationale behind some of these preemptions. Along with that, I want to congratulate the Officers of the Year, and especially in light of Older Americans Month, I spent a day riding with Officer Quattlebaum very recently, and that's an experience. That really is. The work that he does, and of course all the officers do, but the work taking care of seniors who are in a pickle, and his caring and his patience, and the things that he does are just amazing. And I spent a morning and an early afternoon riding along with Neighborly Senior Services doing Meals on Wheels very recently too. And that's an experience everybody should participate in, because that's a real eye-opener too, of the great work that's doing. And I want to thank the Area Agency on Aging for the wonderful work that they do, and I'm really thrilled to be on their advisory council now. So with that, and I want to thank Diane, our city clerk, who reads everything flawlessly all the time. It's amazing to me what she does. So Diane, kudos to you. So thank you.
She stumbled once in 2011.
Yeah, I think she had something in her eye.
It's also Municipal Clerks Week, right? This week?
Yes.
Nice. Happy Municipal Clerks Week. Happy birthday.
We need a proclamation.
We usually do one.
Yeah.
Without her knowledge, maybe that's COVID probably had some effect on that. I had a couple things. One, I know this is not our stormwater system, but this weekend in McKay Creek, I think there was a pup and a mom manatee that got stuck in upstream from a dam that somebody put in across McKay Creek about a year ago. I got a few phone calls from Largo residents that live right there at McKay Creek. The FWC and the Clearwater Marine Aquarium were out trying to rescue the young manatee to get them back in safe water. So could we take a look or find out from I believe that's county stormwater that did that. Find out the purpose of the dam that's across the McKay Creek. The belief from the people that live there is that the water was just high enough that the young manatee got through, and then the mom did whatever it could to get through to follow and injured itself bad enough that it didn't survive. So it doesn't make sense to me I don't understand why the dam would be there. That creek's, I know that there was some flooding where they bought properties and stuff, but I'm not sure what the function of I'm not a hydrologic engineer or anything, but I'm not sure what the function of the dam is. And if there's a lot of, when I was a kid, there was snook and shark and all kinds of fish that worked way up McKay Creek. So I'm not sure why they're putting a dam across that natural water system. So if we look into that would be great. Second, my only other thing was the Mayor's Golf Tournament was this past weekend, and it's Mayor's kind of in name only, although I do play. But there's a lot of people that work very hard on that, and I'd like to thank them. Mike Baker helps put it together. Mark Abdo really helped a lot with sponsors this year. And Gerald Marquardt is the greens supervisor, and he keeps the course looking great. It sold out this year pretty early on, so it was a sold-out field. And so the money that's raised at the Mayor's Golf Tournament goes to sponsor kids for summer camp. So it pays for just one morning of golf, pays for over 150 weeks of summer camp for kids that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford going to summer camp. So thank you to everybody that made that possible. Thank you to all the people that came out and played much better golf than I did. But it was a really nice morning, and thank you. And next year, I know it was really late that I got an invite to you all to come out there, but next year maybe you can join me in the morning just to say hi and thank you to everybody that's involved with that, because it does really help a lot of people, a lot of kids go to camp. And that's all I have. Mr. Schubert.
I have nothing this evening.
Before we adjourn, I wanted to just ask one question about, we had talked about having a summer wardrobe thing. I don't know if we made a decision on that, but I was thinking that today when it was 85 and like 90% humidity as we were coming in. Did we discuss about having some summer months where we don't wear jackets?
We did, and it seems to me it was early in the pandemic where before we went into the masks and all the other, we were more casual. And I think the remark was made from here that, this was something we ought to look at seasonally. So I'm thinking from like maybe November through like September.
Through October?
Yeah.
So we're going to wear a coat for one meeting in January. Is that
something, yeah.
I don't know if there's any suggestions on where summer might span, whether it's June, July, August, whether it's, May 15th through maybe May 14th, I think.
How about hurricane season? Because it starts earlier every year.
Right, no. It goes later every year, too. It goes
Yeah.
in November.
I don't know how you define it. I mean, years ago in the police department, we had a set date that you went from short sleeve uniforms to long.
Right.
And it never mattered, it never seemed to matter what the date was, but when you put on the long sleeve shirt, it was 100 degrees outside. So,
You want to say,
what, does the city admin relax the dress code?
They used to, am I right?
We used to, but we just have the same dress code year-round now.
Okay. I mean, I'm comfortable wearing a suit, but I also understand for comfort's sake, not having to wear a suit for a couple months or 3 months in the summer.
I'm good starting now because I'm sweating butt up here.
Yeah, can we go back to the virtual dress code, like flip-flops and shorts?
No.
Or no, we're going to, all right.
So
That was a lot better.
If we're talking about jackets, can we also talk about ties?
Yeah, so the discussion was like business casual, dress, like city polos, kind of work session attire for a few months in the summer when it's really hot out.
How about June through September? June 1 through September 30?
Sound
Fine with
good?
me.
I'm fine with that.
June through
Absolutely.
September.
June through September. And I don't believe there's any, anything in writing as far as dress code for the city commission meetings, in the governmental policies or anything
So
else.
I can wear flip-flops.
And the legislature hasn't preempted you from establishing.
Right,
Yeah, not
That's
yet.
next year. That's
Wait
next
till they hear me talking about them earlier.
Yeah.
They can wear a sport shirt or a sport clothes, but we cannot.
So what you're saying is I can wear flip-flops, it's just not really,
You
It's
just
kind
can't
of
put your
frowned
feet on the
upon.
desk. You just
That's how
can't put your
accidents
feet on the
happen,
desk.
if you're underdressed, that's how that
All
accident.
right, so we're gonna say,
just for the job you want.
June 1 through the end of September. And if there's nothing else, meeting's adjourned.
So ties and the flip-flops?
Jeff, did you have anything tonight? Okay.
Hey, there's cupcakes in